The story I'm about to tell is absolutely batshit crazy. There's a few reasons I am sharing this. The first being, there are crazy people out there, and a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about sounds made up or exaggerated, but I am telling you, I can't make this shit up. I never could have imagined anything this crazy happening. Honestly, after I make this video, I still plan on writing a book about it one day. Like, that's how much it impacted me, my family, everyone's lives. If anyone can find any form of entertainment or humor in this, then that would be great, because for me, it wasn't so funny. Overall, it was scary and miserable. I'll just get into it now. Okay, a little backstory here. My parents split up my senior year of high school, and my dad has multiple sclerosis, MS for short. He has limited vision and capability in his legs, so he can't drive. He walks with two canes. He decided to move to Montgomery, Alabama from Atlanta after my parents split up because he found a new job there and just wanted a change. This all began my junior year of college. So, you know, for 2 years, he was great at his place in Alabama. My first week of school, my junior year, it was August. My dad hadn't been dating or anything like that. He wasn't on any, dating apps, wasn't looking. So I get a text from him, and it says, "Hey, my girl, I think I've met the one." And I was just like, what? What do you mean? You haven't even been seeing anyone? I was literally so taken aback and confused, but kind of excited for him that he met someone. Basically, he told me that he met this woman on a casino app, a game that he plays where people can bet real money. Now, I already was a little sketched out by that, just because this is the type of place desperate women would go to find men with time and money. But, I said, "Oh, that's great. Let me hear about her. Congrats." He tells me she's a lawyer, she has kids. The whole thing sounded pretty good. It turns out that she lives nowhere near him. He's in Alabama and she's in Rhode Island. After a week or two, they met. I guess he flew her down or whatever. The next step of this whole saga was that after they had only known each other for a month, it had maybe been 3 or 4 weeks, I get another text from him saying, "Hi, my girl, I've bought a house." Excuse me? First of all, you bought a house with someone you barely know. And on the other hand, what's got to be wrong with her that she would move into a house across the country or down the country with someone she just met from the internet and is willing to relocate her kids after the school year has already started? It just didn't add up. No one just picks up their kids and goes and moves in with some man they just met on the internet. It was too many red flags. She doesn't have anything going on. She's gotta need the money. This is so early into the story, and I already knew this was no bueno. Once it was very obvious the situation was scary, and we were all starting to be worried about clearly her legitimacy. So my dad's siblings decided to hire a private investigator to see what they could dig up on this Sandra. Oh, by the way, that was her name, Sandra. You'll hear it many times throughout this video. You also may hear her referred to as the TITS due to her extremely large implants. So we hired a private investigator on Sandra, and it turned out that not only had she been evicted 12 times, but she was currently being evicted when she met my dad, which means that she literally needed somewhere to go. Not only that, but there was no history of her being a lawyer whatsoever, no certifications, none of that. The only job history that could be found on her was at a strip club. Yep, you heard me right.
a strip club.
Great. I was starting to get pretty concerned, but I still wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt because my dad has always been the smartest man I've ever known, you know, so funny and down to earth and normal. I mean, he's just a cool Jewish dad in finance. Like, it was just so hard to believe that he could be so confused that I really wanted to give this a chance. You know, maybe there were some redeeming qualities or something. In September of that year, my friends and I are going to Music Midtown in Atlanta, and we had already been planning on getting a hotel room with my dad because he would visit me in Atlanta once a month. So I was like, hey, why don't we just do it the weekend of Music Midtown? We'll all get a hotel room. About a week before that date is approaching, he asks if Sandra can join us. And it didn't really feel like my place to say no. So I said yes. And basically me, my two best friends, Sandra and Sandra's children all shared a hotel room. The second I met this woman, I knew something was off. She spoke 1,000 miles a minute. She sounded like she was on speed. She was bone skinny. Like she sounded and looked like a drug addict. Now, I don't judge when it comes to tattoos and piercings and stuff, but my dad has never been into that. Like, my mom is the most straight edge person you'll ever meet, and this woman had a tongue piercing, just tattoos absolutely everywhere, like just white trash. The woman looked like white trash. And I already kind of didn't trust her. So the whole thing was weird. Where I really got concerned was she made a comment to me about my spending on my credit card. And when I realized that my dad had already given her access to his credit card statements, I was like,
this is really bad.
She should not have access to any of his financial anything. But the fact that he was starting to merge their lives after literally like a month, it was like, what the heck? The next phase of this whole thing was really rough. This was the phase where we tried to talk him out of it and he didn't listen. Overall, I want this to be a story about her being a very professional con artist and not his poor decisions, even though they were poor and he has apologized. She had this man under a trance, and that power she had over him was able to make him do absolutely anything. It came to a point where I had to tell him, listen, it's me or her, because she's lying to you. She's not safe. None of us like her, and none of us will ever feel safe in your house if she's around. Like, it's time to pick this woman or your family. And basically, he chose her. It was heartbreaking. It was so emotional. Me and my dad have always been so close. I could have never imagined something like this happening, and he was completely brainwashed. He believed all of her lies. He believed every word she said, and all this BS when she was literally, clearly, just a con artist.
She was using him for his money.
Fast forward a few more months, they get engaged. First of all, I find out about this on Facebook. I log on and I see Jeff and Sandra are engaged, and I'm just like, I knew that once they got married, it was over. Like, she would have access to everything if she didn't already. If anything happened to him, it would be her. Marriage was just the one thing I needed not to happen. So when I saw that they were engaged, I absolutely lost it. Now, another thing to mention is that it was very clear that she was not just a smart con artist, but she was actually psychotic. Like, she had mental issues. I wish I could share with you the Facebook post she would post, but she unfortunately deleted her Facebook account because she just keeps changing her identity. But when she did have a Facebook, she would post these crazy paragraphs on paragraphs, caps, exclamation marks, improper spelling, improper grammar, like a lawyer would do, right? On that note, she said her law degree was from Brown University when Brown doesn't even have a law school. Her Facebook posts were crazy. She would insult me and my brother. My dad was mortified but would forgive her. I mean, the whole thing was just bad. I get a call from my dad and he wants to invite me to their wedding in Las Vegas. I told him I wouldn't be going. A few months later, they get married in Vegas. No one in my family shows up. He's completely surrounded by strangers. It's like literally just him, her, and these ratchet people they met in Alabama, which all turned out to also be ingenuine people that just were hanging around for his money. She got him involved with all of these people that just saw that he was a disabled man with money to blow, and they used him for it. It is so sad. So they get married. That was awful. I mean, it was like, she's won, we've lost, there's nothing we can do. She's fooled him, she's convinced him. My relationship with my dad was awful, worse than it had ever been. I really thought I lost him for real. I got this tattoo. Anyways, it is a sun, moon, and a star, because growing up, my dad always said, I love you more than the sun, moon, and stars in the sky. And for me, it was kind of just a reminder of how I was raised with all of that love, and how I knew it was still deep inside of him somewhere, and she was just winning. Like, he wasn't there. It wasn't the real him. It was the him that she created and had control over. While they were married, there wasn't much I could do. There wasn't much anyone could do. We knew that he was in this house in Alabama, and none of his family lived in Alabama. We weren't really close by. There were a few times that we would meet him at a hotel halfway just to see him, and you know, she would be there, and she was crazy. There was one time she was sitting on his lap and she was drunk, and I made a joke about how my dad's gained some weight, and she said, nah, I wouldn't fuck a fat guy. I am his daughter. Yeah, I mean, she smoked, she drank, she got him into those things even though he really never was. It was a gross environment. She actually started drugging him, like sedating him, so that she could get away with more things. There were a few times I would call him and he sounded really out of it, and then the next time we spoke, he totally forgot about that conversation. She started taking $2,000 out of his bank account every single week, just maxing out his ATM limits. She crashed their rental car and ditched it. She did so many damaging financial things, and you know, he had to deal with all the repercussions because they were married. In July, after my junior year of college, I was an intern in New York City, and on a really, really already bad day, I get a call from my dad. He says, guess what? And I said, what? And he said,
You're gonna be a sister again.
I literally lost it. I told him, hold on, I'm gonna go throw up. And I rushed to the bathroom and had a panic attack. I've never had a panic attack in my entire life, but I guess there's a first for everything. The thought of a new human existing that was partially my blood, but also partially this psycho, con artist, liar, disgusting, like, it was just way too much for me to handle. Like, I panicked, and it was so hard to get through the rest of my internship and those next few weeks just thinking about it, because there was not really any news after that. It was just that information I was left with and how to just sit on it. It turned out she wasn't really pregnant, and she was never really pregnant. I'm gonna get to that now, how the truth all came out. Shit all hit the fan. I think it was December of this last year. He basically, even though for over a year he didn't want to hear it from his family, all the times we told him she was a liar, he didn't want to hear it, he didn't believe us, he was in denial. I mean, he was so in denial. Basically, some people they had met in Alabama came forward with information that she was lying, and he finally believed it because he had proof. Word got around that she had been saying to people, I can't believe I got away with it. Like, I can't believe I'm fooling him. I'm gonna stay married to him for 6 months until he can't annul it anymore. And, you know, her blabbermouth got around, I suppose, and somebody told him. Around that same time he found out, she got upset and she lashed out on her own kid. Physically hurt this poor innocent kid. He ended up telling his school guidance counselor about the incident, and then she lost custody of her children. Now, my dad, the compassionate person he is, really couldn't believe that she would hurt her own kids, let alone lie to him, and kind of realized that it was all too much and got out of the situation. His sister helped him. We basically rescued him. We got him a lawyer who could help him try to pay her off and divorce her and be done with it. And in the moment, he was really motivated to do this because he was so angry at her and like genuinely never wanted to see her again. And it was great, you know, and they had gotten in fights in the past where I was hopeful, but it never actually resulted in them breaking up because, you know, she's crazy. She would do something like leave him somewhere and he can't drive, so he would be defenseless and they would get in a fight, or, you know, she had this crazy temper. I can't even explain to you how crazy her temper was. So they would have these fights and he would be like, I'm done, and I would be so hopeful. Then I started to get used to that, and I knew that that didn't actually mean anything. So this time, when he was talking like himself again and knew she was lying and had proof and all of this stuff, I was like, I knew this was the end. I knew that it finally was going to break down. We brought my dad to Athens, Georgia, where I was going to school and had my own apartment because we felt like he would be safer there where she wouldn't really know he was. We got him a new phone number, changed all his credit cards, changed all his passwords, like literally had to try and lock her out of everything. We genuinely felt like we were hiding out. It was scary. We were genuinely concerned that she would send someone to hurt him or us. We found out information that she actually took out a super huge amount of insurance on the house and tried to hire someone to change the locks on the bedroom door to make it double-sided. So we have reason to believe that she was actually planning to lock my dad in the house and burn it down. We had reason to believe that she could want him dead for large amounts of money. It's so crazy to me to even be saying this out loud because, again, like I said in the beginning, it sounds like some TV show or crazy made-up fictional thing, but it's not. Like, this was a real-life scenario. Like, we were scared for our lives. After this all went down, they got an official divorce and she was out of the picture for a while and everything was actually good. He moved back in with his family. He could be around people that could help him. We were all in the clear for a little while. We were getting reoriented with each other, talking things out, trying to forgive each other, when she comes back into the picture and says that she's pregnant for real this time from when they still had been together. Let me reiterate, first of all, how unlikely the chances were of her being pregnant. He is disabled. She is in her 40s, in terrible health, a drinker, a smoker, looks like she's doing God knows what kind of drugs. Like, just the chances of them actually getting pregnant were so rare. And it was so obvious that this was just another stunt for money. But my dad, again, being the compassionate person he was, couldn't just leave her and basically formed a new connection. This was very upsetting to me to learn. You literally paid her to go away. Like, you spent money to make sure you'd never have to deal with her again, and you're getting involved with her again. Like, why? Whatever it is that she did for him or made him feel, he literally couldn't stay away. Even though they were already divorced at this point, even though they weren't together. So we're mending our relationship. Meanwhile, he's still, you know, seeing her and giving her money and supporting her and this supposed baby. Then it turns out she gets sick, she gets sent to the hospital, something happened to her back, I don't know. Long story short, when she was in the hospital, the news came out that she was never really pregnant again. At this point, he can't take her lies anymore. All of this kind of started coming to a close. I wish I could say that there was some super happy ending. The reality is that she got him good. I can't really understand why he wouldn't just cut her off after knowing all these things she lied about, all these things she did to him and to me. I mean, she sent me some psycho text messages, like pages and pages and like a huge blue bubble like type of text message with really inappropriate things and being mean to me. But he's not married to her anymore. He lives with his family. And that's kind of the best case scenario. I mean, he could have lost all his money if he kept living the way that they were living. He told me that they blew through 20 grand a week. They were living like they were gonna die, like crazy people, and he couldn't have sustained that. So the fact that he came out of this alive and well and still with money, I guess that's the best thing that could have happened. The moral of this story is that, first of all, you think crazy crap like this won't happen to you, but it can. Stuff you never predict. I mean, I could have never imagined I would have had to deal with like a psycho stepmother situation, especially just my dad always having been so loving and normal. I mean, the whole thing was just crazy and nothing I could have ever predicted. It did happen to me and my family, and we're getting through it and we're mending. I also hope that, this story maybe other people can relate to. I don't know how common it is for con artists to ruin people's lives, but I have to imagine that she's not the only one out there and that other people have gone through situations like this. Personally, I haven't heard anyone open up with anything like this, so, I hope I can be one of the first to shed some light on a very scary thing that people out there do. People out there seriously fake love for money. We've all heard of that, but this is a very drastic situation. That was my story. Luckily, it's kind of coming to an end, which is why I'm able to call it a story with a beginning, middle, and end. I hope to write a book about it one day. I hope you enjoyed listening. Feel free to leave any comments if you have further questions or anything you want to say about this crazy, crazy, crazy real life story of mine. Trying to get more into making YouTube videos. I really love it. So support me by liking and subscribing, and I will see you next time.